Hari Om, good evening everyone. Wonderful to be back in this week of Kindle Live reading. And let's begin this wonderful session with a prayer.
समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ Hare Krishna. The technique of self-development. The rishis of yore, our seer scientists, they observed and found out the 4 different entities which are predominantly in all humans. But not only that, they also observed that very readily, very easily, man sacrifices the grosser to attain the subtler. It is so true. We always want to let go of sorrows, which is gross, to gain happiness, which is subtle. But is there something subtler than happiness? Let's find out.
Of course. And one of the most wonderful things of what came to be known as Hinduism or Hindu philosophy was that it was universal. It was never meant to be for only one type of people or for that particular time. It transcended beyond time. What was applicable then is applicable today and will be applicable for years to come, for eternity. Also, it was never applicable only to Indians, only to Hindus. In fact, as I've mentioned earlier, there was nothing like Hinduism before. It was a philosophy which was known as Sanatana Dharma. So their observations and their studies was based on humanity. And let us find out how it is applicable to all of humanity. Continuing our reading further, psychological satisfaction is richer than physical gratification. The subtler the personality, the greater is the satisfaction that is derived by the individual. And while identifying with the subtler in us, we readily get ourselves transcended from the world of the grosser and its joys and sorrows. If this is a scientific fact, then is there any method by which all of us can identify ourselves with the subtlest in us and try to live in the world continuously in that state? We all want to achieve happiness and we all try for that. So is there any such state where the happiness is permanent? Jagdish, can you read further, please?
Yes. This pursuit led the Vedic seers to plan technical methods by which the integration of the personalities can effectively take place and with the help of which self-transcendence can easily be achieved. They did strive by these methods to bring about a better constituted society of dynamic men, healthy in body, cheerful in mind, strong in intellect, and firm in spirit. Love and ambition were the compulsions that made them work for human redemption, and therefore they did not incorporate any idea of their own, however noble, unless it was completely practical and would suit every individual in the whole world. So universal was their conception that their theories and practices are applicable to all ages and to all geographical spheres.
So we are now seeing that the studies which the rishis did were meant for creating an excellent human species, human beings. They did not put their own ideas, they only put forward what they had studied scientifically over a long period of time. One individual's idea or opinion was not put. In fact, I must over here naughtily ask you all to remember a game which is called Chinese Whisper. And now it is quite clear to me why it was named so also. It began with a large group of people sitting next to each other in a circle, and the one person would start saying something or whisper something in the person next to him. And finally, when it went around the whole circle, that particular sentence which came back to him was completely distorted and definitely not the one which was like an original. So this was the game Chinese Whisper. So that this does not happen, the rishis and the scientists did not put their opinion in the middle of everything. They did only which was logical, which was a scientific study, and which was done over a long period of time with logical arguments so that they come to a proper scientific conclusion. And after experimentation, having seen the results that they are right according to the theory which they were giving. So this is what was happening.
Yes, read further.
Yes.
Just as physics, biology, etc. are not the exclusive property of any one country or people, of an era or an age, but are universally applicable irrespective of time and age, so too the science of living, as propounded by the rishis in Vedanta, visualizes a plan of life to suit all people at all times and everywhere. Since the theory is universally applicable, and the technique suits the psychological composition of different ages and groups, they in their sacred wisdom realized that a limited cast iron, there is a mistake there, there should be a hyphen between the word cast and iron. Limited cast iron pattern couldn't hold everyone for all times. Between man and man, there is a clear distinction both in their individual mental attitude and intellectual grasp. As such, a set scheme to control and develop the mind and intellect for all people would be an impractical proposition and an absurdity too colossal for their wisdom to even contemplate. Meaning, is
Their minds were so vast. They did not conform to just a very, very ironclad discipline sort of technique that, yes, now what has been said, only this and this will follow. If I've said these 10 ideas, there cannot be an 11th idea. And it is meant only for these people. Nobody else in the world can practice this unless they either convert or become that particular thing. No. There was never such compulsions. Their mind was too vast and too large and too accepting of the
open.
humanity in all, in totality. It was not a very narrow, fixed-minded set. So they transgressed the time period also, and they also took the whole of humanity in their grasp.
that I think from there, this Hindi muhavara that has come, Lakir ke Fakir. So our rishis were not Lakir ke Fakir. Shall we go ahead? It is an accepted fact that life, considered as a series of experiences, is enjoyed mainly by our head and heart. That is, the rational and intellectual faculty represented by the head and the faculty of instinct and emotion represented by the heart. If these two factors control and regulate, order and dictate the texture of our experiences, and if there be such an endless diversity in experiences between man and man, then it must be because of the varying proportions in which the head and the heart function in the different individuals. Therefore, on the basis of these two factors, the entire humanity may be satisfactorily divided into four types.
So we already know this, that all our experiences are actually felt by the heart. When we say heart over here, it means of course the mind, because it is connected to emotions. And then by the intellect, we also know that intellect is what? A collective, decisive mind.
Correct.
Is intellect. And so the mind and intellect faculty are the ones which experience everything. That means they are the heart and then they are the head. So if we consider these two factors, then all of humanity can be divided into four different sections.
Let's see what are these four different types. 1. Those in whom the heart predominates over the head. 2. Those in whom the head predominates over the heart. 3. Those in whom the head and heart have an almost equal assertion. And finally, the fourth type, those in whom neither the heart nor the head has developed adequately. What it means, we'll explain. In this classification is built upon the basis of comparative assertion of the emotional and the rational traits in man, and upon his estimation of things and situations during his endless experiencing of the world. For there is no one who is the purely intellect type or purely the heart type. Therefore, what was told? Predominant.
Yes. So it's very simple actually, very clearly Gurudev has mentioned over here. So all of humanity can be divided, or the experiences of all humanity can be divided into these four types, which are predominantly of the heart, or predominantly of the head, or which is equal between heart and head, and the fourth type, which the heart and head, both faculties are not adequate enough. No, but they don't really feel so much, they don't really think so much, those kind of people.
So while we are reading over here, as Gurudev has already mentioned, don't think of them, they. When we are reading, think of ourselves. Ultimately, we are reading it for us, understanding what we are, right? So let us put our mind as not they, but me, I.
And we all fall into one of the
One
other
of the
categories.
In this perplexity, so the meaning of perplexity, let us
Confusion.
speak. Yeah, inability to deal with. If the science of self-integration had only one airtight method, it could save only a small fraction of the entire population. Thus, the existing religions of the world, when compared with inimitable perfection of Hinduism, are all imperfect in themselves to become a universal religion for all times and for all people. Now, there is a very dynamic statement given here by Gurudev. And the dynamic statement is given after giving a logical explanation that Hinduism, Vedanta, does not cast iron or stereotype every individual as the same, and that everyone has to follow the same dogmatic system. No.
And most importantly, it is also not of any one man who has said that yes, that one man stands up and says yes, this should be done, and if you don't do it, then you are finished.
So you see how universally it can be accepted. We'll read further, you will get it more.
This is no fault.
This is no fault of theirs, nor is it a reflection on the prophets. It is only the result of a limitation germinate to a single immortalized mortal who comes from a time for a time to address his generation. The anxiety of the prophet was the redemption of their generation from the particular weakness of age. And as such, each religion had a special justification for the time, for that particular age, since it served to solve the immediate problems of the generation. It would therefore be ridiculous and most absurd to insist with fanatical emphasis that the same religion should be applied in all its entirety with ruthless bigotry to all people and at all times. Bigotry means
Intolerance.
intolerance against people who have
Different.
different kind of thoughts.
Than yours.
Now here, Gurudev has explained to us about other religions also. Most religions have one prophet, one book, one rule. Yes or no?
And strict adherence to them.
And you have to strictly follow whatever is said. If you don't follow, you are either outcasted or you are thrown back. Therefore, this cannot work for the whole world.
It's not universal.
It is not universal. Naturally, we are seeing in the same community, in the same family, we are same people, one person having 4 different personalities. How can just one rule be set for everyone? One path be set for everyone? In food, she likes roti, I like rice. We are one family. In clothing, we have so many different tastes. In life, we have so many varieties. Why is this? Because of the 4 personalities that we have. Similarly, rishis from India, they found this out. And according to this, they have understood the 4 personalities and 4 paths have been proclaimed that you choose as per your personality. What suits you the best?
And it is very clearly also told over here that the prophets of those times were perfect for that period of time. In that geographical area,
place.
it was required of that time. So nature gave those prophets, those great saints, those great Mahatmas, for those people in that area. And that was suitable for them then. It does not mean that it is suitable for everybody at all times. This universality, which is there in Hinduism, or rather, Hinduism is the only religion in which there is this universal classification for everybody.
And this is the reason why you will see our history. None of our kings, none of our priests ever went to conquer anywhere else. Because what we needed to conquer is the self. The mind conquered, you will be the winner of everything. This was the greatest, highest understanding. Shall we read further? But the exhaustive treatment as it is available for us in the literature of Hindu scriptures seems to consider the entire problem of man and successfully serve in pursuing all his possibilities. Therefore, Hinduism can serve all people at all times. However, the scientific method should be in its application to the new problems related from time to time to suit the spirit of the age and society. It is merely a question of shifting the emphasis from one aspect to another, which is determined by the weakness in the mental and intellectual life of people. This is the secret of the survival of Hinduism from out of its many dark ages and in spite of its repeated destiny to live under unsympathetic governments in its own native land. we feel so saddened that having so much of knowledge at our fingertips, it was ours, it is ours, but we are unable to exercise it. Why? Because nobody has taught us this. In our entire life of 50, 60 years, we are coming through this knowledge for the first time. We move ahead. Yet, unfortunately, many a Hindu, ignorant of verse, still ill-educated vanity of this misdirected education and ill-digested knowledge, seems to feel that the different paths for self-development available in our literature are themselves its very weakness. We are reminded of a story wherein a beggar who was allowed to use a king's palace complained of the inconveniences which the palace with its innumerable rooms and halls provided for him. The modern Hindu condemns his religion because it is so exhaustive. Ignorance alone can parade such shameless audacity. Audacity means rude or rude boldness. Yeah, I don't care. I don't believe in any Hinduism or anything like that. Why? Because one, he is unaware. And second, he is not ready to take that effort to understand. Or, as Gurudev himself is saying, still worse, it is he knows a little bit, ill-educated about it. Little bit he knows, and it doesn't suit him, so he just says, no, it's useless. In order to serve the four different types mentioned above, the scientist of life, desirous to help to gain for everyone a complete integration of his individual personality, prescribed four distinct methods, which have come down to us as four yoga traditions: devotion, bhakti, knowledge, jnana, selfless work, karma, and the mystic way or hatha yoga. So these are the four paths. Yes, Rajshree, you were saying something.
Yes. So we have been explained earlier also that these are the four paths a human being can choose in order to gain the ultimate knowledge which is there. Whenever we also join university or colleges, we study anything, we don't start studying so that we don't reach the goal. When we are in our 10th also, we try our best to get maximum percentage. Similarly, in 12th also, it is normally the year which decides which direction in life we'll take. Same thing with our university degrees also. We don't start learning so that we may never reach the goal. Or learning is done with the idea that the goal has to be achieved and achieved well.
And the knowledge for which you are going should be gained.
And of course, when you gain the knowledge, you are going to apply it practically also. And that is going to give you more satisfaction than everything else. That what you have learned, you are now applying also. So similar methodology over here also. So for people with these four different predominant or equal ideas, which are the four ones? Where the heart predominates or the head predominates or both are of equal domination. And the fourth category, where both are not actually adequately developed to follow any of the earlier three paths. So these are the four types which are actually related to the yoga traditions of bhakti, jnana, karma and hatha yoga. Of these four methods, bhakti is the path that can serve the majority of the people all over the world at all times. Since man is essentially a creature of emotions and sentiments, of impulses and attachments. For this reason, we find that in almost all the religions of the world, the emphasis is on the path of devotion, and rarely, if at all, do we find people believing that selfless work can also be conducive to self-development. We may safely say that the mystical path and the path of pure knowledge are the exclusive techniques which the incomparable genius of the rishis alone would have given to the world.
I'll speak. Actually,
Please.
your throat is really troubling you today.
Yeah, sorry for that.
Bhakti. Bhakti, or the path of devotion, is. Gurudev is now explaining each path. As I said, each path is for us to understand. Please put your complete focus in these next few paragraphs. Bhakti, or the path of devotion, is most appealing to generality of mankind, especially to those who have the sad experience of unrewarded love, unappreciated kindness, and unrequited, that meaning not returned, means I love somebody and somebody doesn't love me, I respect somebody and somebody doesn't respect me back, unrequited sympathies. An emotional creature cannot feel happy unless its emotions are in chorus sung back. Where there is no emotional echo, there the psychological satisfaction stops to throb. Choked by its own unrewarded emotions, it gets strangled by the sweetness of its own sentiments. Such an individual finds an ample field for loving the Lord, who in himself represents the ideal of inexhaustible love, infinite kindness, and endless sympathy. When a devotee thus directs his entire mental energy towards this infinite ocean of love, all the love that he can gain comes to be but a drop compared with that prema sagar, ocean of love, prema sagar, which his ideal represents. Thus, the individual comes to feel a consummate fulfillment in loving the Lord of his heart, who never deserts him but shows his love and kindness even through life's sorrows and bereavements, disappointments and dejections, despair and despondency. To the man. So, this is the man of
The heart.
heart. Bhakti. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Most human beings are emotional. We get carried away very quickly. We cry quickly. We laugh quickly. We love quickly. So it is but natural that we get attracted to the path of devotion or bhakti very quickly. When we hear a beautiful rendition of a nice bhajan, we get attracted. Even on the road, if we are passing through and in the temple nearby there is some bhajan or some arti going on, at that time we quickly
bow and we
bow. So that is the most natural path.
So, this is indicative of a group or a type of people who are emotionally oriented. Shall we go to the next?
Yes, the heart rules the head, we have seen. Now let us see about the head.
To the man of head means intellect, intellectual man. This method can hardly have any appeal, for to him, emotion has no secret meaning. He can enjoy emotions only when it is sanctioned and acknowledged by his reason. He demands satisfaction for the head, and he views and evaluates things from the crown of his intellect. The soft skill clad, bejeweled and bedecked flute player, or the rag clad, bearded cross bearer, is to the purely intellectual a mere mental who might have achieved perfection in his day, yet is but a finite specimen, as much limited in space and time as any one of us. To an individual who entertains such an idea, the path of devotion is no inspiring avenue to gain any amount of self-integration, So you can see here, Gurudev has so clearly, absolutely clearly explained to us that the men of heart and the men of head, they require different set of paths. And just to finish that statement over there, perhaps if he is forced to walk the path through social pressure or through fear of unhealthy criticism, he only wrecks himself and ends by becoming a much more disintegrated brute than what he was when he walked into the church or the temple. That means if a man of intelligence who wants to find out things is forced to do bhakti,
Or if the rites and rituals are forced upon it, he's going to rebel. He
He's
doesn't
going to
believe
rebel.
in that. He doesn't understand that.
so many times it has been, told to us, don't you ask this question, you are an atheist, that's why you're asking this question.
So there are people who will want to know logically, scientifically, what does it all mean? Where does it all lead? What is the logic behind religion? So those who are ruled by the head should not be forced or should not be taking up the path of devotion or bhakti. Although, as I've mentioned earlier, and you will find out also as time passes, that some element of the other has to be there. There is nobody who can be only of the heart and nobody who can be only of the head. That is not possible. So, tomorrow we shall see the other two, which we will complete there. So, let's end this session with prayers.
Yes, please. Om Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Hari Om.
Hari Om everyone.